It's TMNT time. Hello and welcome to another figure review. Today we're gonna have a look at the Neca Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder clones, based on the Mirage comic books. What are Shredder clones anyway? Well, two botched clones of the Shredder. One's big and bulky, has 4 arms, and the other one is basically a mini-me. We also had the Claw Shredder, but that was a Lootcrate exclusive. Already reviewed that one, but really fits in nicely with these two guys. And since it's the comic book line, we have all kinds of very cool looking detail on there. Like it's a lot darker looking first and foremost, but you also have like the comic lines, the dots and whatnot, make it look even cooler. So let's have a look at the figures. This guy's big. How big? Just what the doctor ordered. Pretty much 18 centimeters to the top of his head, which means we are going up to pretty much 7 inches tall. A little bit short of it. Speaking of short, let's have the little guy also in here for your size of the mini-me shredder. Stands at about 7 centimeters to the top of his helmet, which means we would go up to close to 3 inches size comparisons.
Here's Jolter, the SH Figure Arts Son Goku, Neca Michelangelo, the Neca Claw Shredder, the Mirage Shredder, and Darkseid.
Overall look in detail of the big guy. I love it. I love the metallic on all the armor parts, but I don't know how well you can see it under the camera. Not really a lot, but there's some blue hints on it, a little bit of blue shading on the front part of the mask. Really doesn't shine through on the camera, and also a little bit in the back. But yeah, overall, that's a nice touch, and I think it elevates. It gives it like a nice shine to it. Well, I can tell it's mostly in the helmet, but the spiky part over here has a little bit of a different color because of the lack of shading on there. Maybe you can see it now, maybe not. Anyway, this is hard plastic, so be very careful of that. If this guy takes a shelf dive, the spikes are gonna go bye-bye, because the same is for the shoulder pads. All of it is hard plastic, so it is very spiky. It's very dangerous. Don't give it to little children, because they cut themselves. But yeah, you shouldn't do that anyway. But same goes for the spikes in the gauntlets and whatnot. But let's get back to the face real quick. You have like the red in the eyes, which is it just me, or does it not fully cover up the black in there? It doesn't look super red, and it doesn't look very shiny. It kind of looks kind of muted, and it kind of gets lost in all of this. Then we move down to the big body with the 4 Goro arms, but actually in the back also. I love that you have all the cool muscle detail even in here, because you could have just made this flat and be like done with it, but looking at the back, like there's actually almost more muscle detail in the back and like all the line work than it is in the front. So I thought that was kind of interesting, even though we don't really display it from the back, unless if you want to. This is probably a good figure to do it. You have the 4 arms with the gauntlets, have still the same tiny bit of shading, I feel like, in it, especially in the spikes. But overall, you have the line work, not the cartoon line, but the comic book line, all kind of black lines that go throughout it, and everything else that's painted on here, it looks very clean. I mean, I'm super impressed recently with Neca, and the clean line work also, like here in the helmet and whatnot. It looks so good. Now, one thing though is the helmet, the mask is crooked. I don't know if that's supposed to be like that. I looked up some pictures of the Mirage comic. I didn't really see anything like that, so I'm not sure if that was on purpose or not. But because of that, we have the soft plastic piece down here under the belt. Then we go to the knees and the big thighs and some more taped detail, which there's no articulation in there. It's just a hard piece. But overall, as I was saying, I feel like the line work is really clean. The mold looks good, and everything just comes together very nicely. So makes for a very menacing package. And then we have like the little one, which is not menacing. And depending on how you look at it, it might be even more menacing to have this little mini-me. Same thing with the helmet, has like a little bit of a blue tone on it. The eyes actually, I feel like, look a little bit better on this guy, and he's also super spiky on the helmet and whatnot. So again, be aware and be careful not to break anything off over here. But yeah, I mean, this is more like an accessory. Also has a soft plastic card down there. And considering the size, I mean, he's not that tiny, but still, they did a good job with it. Overall look and the paint, nothing for me to complain about. For the articulation, starting off with the head, you can move that back and forth. It's quite nimble actually. I think they hollowed out quite nicely, and it does go all the way around. Be careful where you touch it. I don't want to break anything off. But you also have a little bit of neck articulation. I don't know if you can tell. Have to really give it a good push, but you can move it backwards and forwards a little bit. It's an added bonus. Also, I feel like you can shift this. Oh, nicely done. But yeah, getting towards the neck is a bit of a challenge, but once you get a good hold of it, you do have some extra articulation thanks to that. Now, the shoulder articulation is limited because of the big shoulder pads. Can rotate it on the socket, but I can't get a grip on this one. But you do have the bicep swivel. That works. And then the double hinged elbow. Obviously, it's the same for both arms. I'm just gonna show you one of them because it's the same, alright? Anyway, so you can bring that up and down, and you can also swivel this part, which is a feature of this figure. More on that later. And then the hand is on a hinge, so you can bring that back and forth. Nothing too fancy about that, but it works. And speaking of nothing fancy, the entire torso area only has a swivel. Now, once again, it looks good because you have the soft plastic belt covering it on, but really would like to have a ball joint in there so you could at least lean it forward and backward just a little bit, alright? As long as you don't make like an ab crunch or whatever, because ab crunches look ugly as hell. And I'm okay with having like a clean looking figure and not sacrificing too much articulation, but that could have been done like very easily. So leg moves, not really that much forward, out to the side, to the back, okay enough I guess. Can rotate it on the ball joint in there, and then the double hinged knees, can bring that all the way up. If you have the lower hinge, give it a little bit more of a tuck. And then we have the foot, which could have made a swivel over there, but they decided not to do that. But the foot itself is on a hinge, so you can bring that back and forth, and a beautiful pivot brings it all the way around. As far as for the little guy, let me get that one in real quick. We do have some more articulation on this one. You could say, well, it's just an accessory, but they did a little bit on it. Head articulation is actually quite good, back and forth, goes side to side, but you hear that noise, that's kind of like him clashing with the spiky shoulder, so be careful with that. Has a little bit of side to side motion, not really that much because you don't really have that much room for the little guy. And then for his arms, unfortunately only on ball joints, so you can bring that mostly up and down, shift it, bring it a little bit out to the side, really have some playing around with it. I really would have liked just to be this on a hinge. That's about it. I mean, I'm fine with it. It's just a tiny articulation, just a tiny accessories. It doesn't have to be super articulated, but I think it's kind of weird just having it on ball joints. And then for the legs, you have like, it hollowed out just on a ball joint, but it's also hollowed out on the back, so I don't really know. That one is actually kind of excessive, and it works really well, but also nothing in the knees. But still, you can bring that out, can rotate it very freely, and you know, there you go. Funny enough, you do also have hinges on his tiny, tiny feet over here. Nothing in the torso, so very good in the legs, but everything else just kind of like meh. So I wish it would have done like just like a little bit more, because I mean it's a small figure. It's not that tiny. You could have done like a swivel over here, and you could have had like a hinge in the shoulders. That's about it. That's all I wanted. But as it is, I guess it's okay. For your accessories, you don't get a lot, but I'm fine with that. You have like 2 open hands, and then also 2 holding hands, even though he doesn't have anything to hold. Wow, these spikes are warped to hell. I don't even know. I mean, this looks kind of funny. It looks like battle damage, but like, Jesus. And then we have whatever the hell this is. Well, let me get the big guy right in here real quick. This is when you cut his arm off, which should be somewhere around here. Just take this one off, and then you pop this part in. Oh no, my arm's been cut off. And then you put the arm on the floor, where the purple goop just kind of flows out of it. And he kind of goes like this. I mean, it's cool. It's a nice idea, and it looks clean, and it's easy to assemble. So yeah, why not? Final thoughts! Neca delivers once again something aesthetically pleasing, something that jumped right out of the comic book into your collection. And that's, as you know me, one of the most important parts that the figure actually looks like the character in the comic book. And I think they delivered 100%. I love the mode. Paint job has very little for me to complain about. And the only thing you could talk about is like, well, he doesn't have that many accessories, but you don't really need many more accessories. You do have like a basic amount of hands. I like the cool feature to cut off his arm. And depending on how you look at it, the little guy is an accessory. And realistically speaking, the only thing that's just like kind of okay is the articulation. And don't get me wrong, it's not bad, he's not a complete brick, but really a little bit something in the torso and the shoulder pads being like soft plastic or being able to move those up. You know, it's little things. I don't want to make it sound too bad. I don't want to make it sound like, oh, articulation, awful, 0 out of 10. No, I like the figure, but that's the only part I feel like they could have done just a little bit better. But regardless of that, he's big, he's cool, he's chunky, and I recommend him. That's gonna do it, guys. As usual, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this review, hit it up with a like and subscribe to the channel so you can stay tuned for figure reviews, card game stuff, and whatever the clone shredders want.